If you are considering a move to Northern Michigan, there are probably a few questions that you would like to have answered. As a real estate professional, I am constantly asked, what is it really like to live in Northern Michigan? So today I wanted to go over a couple of the most commonly asked questions that will help you decide if Northern Michigan is right for you. Hi, my name is Geno D'Angelo. I'm a local Northern Michigan real estate agent specializing in helping you relocate to Northern Michigan. And before we get started, I would like to thank everyone who has subscribed to this channel. It has taken off way more than I could have ever expected, and we are having a ton of fun doing these videos and delivering helpful information to those of you who are considering joining us in beautiful Northern Michigan. One of the most common questions I get are, Geno, how are the schools in Northern Michigan? Petoskey and Boyne City are the highest rated schools in Northern Michigan, and I've had a lot of people relocate here just based on the information they found when they researched which school was best from one area to another. Something I love personally about Northern Michigan schools are the friendly teachers and the small class sizes. Northern Michigan, while growing, is still not a very large area as some of the areas you may be moving from. And I've had a number of clients rave about how much they love how small the class sizes are here in Northern Michigan. My son goes to school in Petoskey and his class has 12 students in it. A lot of people are surprised when I tell them that because they are used to coming from areas with 20, 30, 40 kids in a single class. And it probably goes without saying that it's a lot different learning experience when you're in a class of 12 versus a class of 40. Also, a lot of schools in this area have what's called school of choice, meaning just because you live in one district doesn't mean you have to only go to school at this one particular school. There are open borders in most cases that allow you to go to whatever school you want as long as you are willing to drive your child there. Another thing that surprises people when we start having the conversation around schools is just how great our public school systems are. Now, while there are some private schools in Northern Michigan, I have been told by people relocating to this area that their kid used to be in a private school downstate and now in a public school, they feel like it is the exact same experience being in a private school in another area, which, hey, could save you a few bucks every year. Probably the second most common question I get when people are considering a move to Northern Michigan is, how much snow do you actually get? Now, while snow is always something you're going to have to contend with in Northern Michigan, I'm here to tell you we do not get nearly as much snow as we did when I was a kid. I remember my friends and I driving our snowmobiles to school because we lived in a small rural town and got that much snow that it was feasible to do so. Now, as I'm recording this, it's just after Christmas, a couple of days before New Year's, and we have zero snow on the ground. And it seems like the winter started a little bit later each year over the last couple of years. Now, don't think just because we don't get as much snow as we once did, that snow is not still a formidable opponent. Snow is still something you're gonna have to think about and make plans around. And depending on where you live determines how big of an issue snow is to you one way or the other. Northern Michigan has what's called the snow belt. That is an area that gets a lot more snow than the rest of the area. The snow belt is considered the Gaylord, Elmira, Mansalona, just over a little bit towards Traverse City. That is what is called the snow belt because they get much more snow than the rest of us here in Northern Michigan. So if you love snow, if you love to snowmobile, if you love to play in the snow, those are areas you're going to want to check out. If having a lot of snow is a big deal to you, you're going to want to avoid those areas. There are other areas in Northern Michigan that don't get nearly as much snow that still have a beautiful winter scene. And for those of you keeping score at home, Northern Michigan averages between 80 and 160 inches of snow every year. Now, once I'm having a conversation with a buyer about relocating to Northern Michigan, if we start talking about snow, they ask me, how do you handle it? What do we do? We've never dealt with snow before. How do we not let it ruin our life? And I simply tell them, you just need to come up with a game plan. Depending on where you live, you're gonna wanna make sure your driveway is plowed and your sidewalks are shoveled. Now, another item you're gonna wanna keep close by is salt. You put salt on the ice and it melts the ice, making sure you don't slip and fall. A couple of other suggestions in regards to the snow to make it a little bit easier on you are make sure that you have good snow tires, and you're also gonna have to budget to make sure you wash your car a little bit more than normal because the salt from the roads does stick to your car and makes it a little bit ugly. Also, there are two different commute times in Northern Michigan: the summer commute time and the winter commute time. The same drive that might take you a half hour in the summer when the roads are clear could take you an hour or more when the roads are slippery, and you're gonna wanna make sure you give yourself enough time to get to the doctors or to work or wherever you need to be. The third question I get asked the most is, what is the job market like in Northern Michigan? A lot of people think of Northern Michigan as a resort-like area without a lot of high-paying jobs, And I would say once upon a time, that was mostly true. However, in the last few years, with manufacturing plants like Lexamar, 𝐍𝐸𝐞, and some others, and the hospital expanding, it has created a lot more high-paying jobs than we've ever had here, which has attributed to the housing boom in Northern Michigan. Another segment of the workforce that we are seeing relocate to Northern Michigan in droves are those individuals who are able to work from home. Let's face it, if you could work from anywhere, would you rather be in a metropolitan area or in beautiful Northern Michigan? The ability for people to work from home has allowed them to live the vacation resort lifestyle year-round, and that has caused a lot of people to relocate to Northern Michigan. While everybody was allowed to work from home during COVID with stay-at-home orders, a lot of those individuals chose to do so from their vacation home up north. Now, I'll be honest, I was a little bit skeptical if the people that were used to the conveniences of a metropolitan or a city area would adapt to the year-round lifestyle of Northern Michigan. Now that we're a couple years past COVID, I have seen a lot of those people stay. They have found that living in Northern Michigan full-time is much less inconvenient than they thought it would be, and they have liked the slower pace of life and the ability to live where they have vacationed. Speaking of community, I'm often asked, what is it like living in a tight-knit community? I personally love it. I can't go to any store, the coffee shop, or really anywhere in town and not see a handful of people I know. And that really makes it feel like we are a tight-knit community in Northern Michigan. While I was in college in Metro Detroit, when I would go to the store or the mall, I would rarely see anybody I knew. And I felt like I lost that sense of community coming from small Northern Michigan. Now, if you are new here, it can be intimidating. But one of the great things in Northern Michigan is there are so many clubs and activities that you can join to meet people who like to do the same things you do and have you meet instant friends, allowing you to feel like you belong to Northern Michigan after only being here a short time. In terms of getting involved, one of the things I love is when people move here and they ask how they can give back to the community and what areas they can volunteer to. Now, Northern Michigan has some great philanthropic and voluntary opportunities, such as MANA, Brother Dan's, and a handful of others that allow you to help those in need in the community. And it's one of my personal favorite things about Northern Michigan. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, what do you do for fun? As a lifelong Northern Michigan resident, I have found a handful of things about Northern Michigan that I just love to do. Whether it's snowboarding at Boyne Mountain, riding my bike on the Little Traverse Wheelway, or working out at the local CrossFit gym, I love everything Northern Michigan has to offer, and those are just a couple of activities that you could enjoy while living here. And if you are watching this video and currently live in Northern Michigan, please comment below what activities you love about Northern Michigan. I try not to take for granted the fact that we have numerous places to ski here, a 50-mile bike path, and other great outdoor activities that you just can't find anywhere else. Now, a lot of you have watched these videos and reached out to me and said, Geno, how much does it cost to buy a house in Northern Michigan? Now, that is a very difficult question to answer without knowing everybody's individual situations. Depending on the list of wants and needs, a house could range anywhere from $500,000 to $10 million. Now, most people coming here don't need a $10 million house and are usually more than happy to find what you get in the $700,000 to $800,000 price range. The hard part is you used to be able to get a house in Petoskey or Harbor Springs for $250,000. Now, I believe the entry level is truly closer to $500,000, with the average price for a house in Petoskey this year being $541,000. In fact, the reason I started making these videos was to educate the population on what it costs and what it's like to live in Northern Michigan and how much it's changed over the last 5 to 7 years. I encourage any of you that are considering moving here to go on my website, GenoD'Angelo.com, and just browse houses. If you spend 15, 20, a half hour looking at houses, you'll get an idea of what a house costs here based on bedrooms, bathrooms, square foot, and that sort of thing. And you'll be much more educated on what it's like to live in Northern Michigan. If after watching this video, you have any questions about what it's like to live in Northern Michigan, please reach out to me directly at 231-487-6141, and I'd be happy to talk to you.